Did you have a good time? All right, splendid. Anything else on the agenda we're talking about? I didn't even start my motorcycle this weekend. I knew anything. Yes, you have the floor.
The Pope is stepping down.
Yeah, I thought somebody might notice that the Pope was resigning. In my whole life, I've never heard of a Pope resigning.
Is that the first one in 60?
My mother and I were talking about this morning that the Pope was resigning, and she had never heard in her whole life, and then it did come on the news that no one in 600 years had ever resigned. Most popes dying off, that's how they go. They finish up dying, and that's why when they choose a new pope, the cardinals get together, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they elect a new pope when the other one has died, and there's smoke coming out of this little chimney, it's black, until they have chosen. When they chose a new pope, then it comes out white smoke, and so everybody gets excited because they've chosen a new pope, if you're into the Catholic mindset. But it is a pretty interesting situation. He's the first one to ever resign. I'm assuming, I looked at a picture of him today, and I don't know how old the picture was, but I thought he looks like maybe he's got a problem. Physical, terminal situation. I mean, that's why he's stepping down. He can't fly anymore. He's not supposed to go anywhere. And maybe he's got some kind of terminal illness that's, he thinks he can't do his job, so he's stepping down. Most popes just die in office. They just Pope really die. So he's the first one that I've ever heard of. It's pretty amazing. He is stepping down. And they haven't called me yet to be Pope. So I guess I wouldn't. Anything else on the agenda? Yes, ma'am?
They had Debbie's memorial on Saturday.
The what now?
Debbie's memorial.
What is that?
You know the car crash at Colorado accident? Car crash on Colorado.
One at a time. I can only hear so much. You know that.
The car crash on Colorado.
Oh, the young lady that was killed? Yeah.
That's the memorial.
And was it, there was, you know, the memorial for it?
Yeah, they had the memorial on Friday at 9, but then they had the memorial at 12 on Saturday.
I see. You guys have a lot of kids there. I would guess. Is that correct? A lot of kids are probably there. I know when I was, that one kid that died not too long ago, there was a memorial for a different kid. Some kid that died that got killed. He had been out of school a year ago, and they had a memorial. And I can't remember where I was at, but I was sitting someplace I could see all these kids showing up to the funeral home. I was sitting somewhere, and there were all these kids showing up. His name was Golden Corral. I was sitting there, and all these kids were showing up, and I said, "What's going on?" And I reminded somebody, said, "Well, don't you remember so-and-so died?" And he'd been out of school a year or two or whatever, and so there's all these young kids showing up for his memorial. Anything else on the agenda today we're talking about before I get into anything? Go Uno. And the spring sports are going well, I take it? Most of you are playing. And that's it, right? Nothing else? Yeah.
I had a quick question. I was wondering if you were like Catholic and you were the Pope and you sat down, and you like, have you got a help or something?
Did you what?
Doing it so that someone can do the job right. You don't have to say.
You know, he has like 102 cardinals that work for him. Cardinals are the next step below the Pope. And so, you know, they keep him on track and stuff like that. He's someone to figure that. When I say that is that he'd get up in front of the people and lead a prayer in church or something like that. All those cardinals who are always dressed in red, their job is mainly the church business. They keep the business going. And then his job is everybody looks to lead in prayer or have a new statement to make. And you know, probably like this is the year of prayer, and maybe that would be something some cardinals thought up, and then he gets in front and tells everybody. It's kind of like when the President of the United States comes, you know he's not thinking of all these things. The President of the United States has all these people write the speeches and stuff for him. He makes the final word what he wants to say, but you know, a president's job today is to communicate with people. That's his job. He tells you what the cabinet decided. They've all decided this. He comes up and tells us all what's going to happen. And if he's a good communicator, we all go, wow, what a great president. Blah, blah. If he's not a good communicator, we go, oh, he's a terrible president. And so, you know, usually presidents have to be very good in front of cameras now. Very good in front of cameras. And they have to have that ability to speak. You know, if they can speak well, they're going to carry the audiences. I don't know why George Bush, on the other hand, was not a very good speaker, and he always looked perplexed. Those of you who remember when he was president, his eyes would always do this. I do it all the time. And it's like, this is the man, but he had a reputation for not being too bright. You know, I'm not saying he wasn't smart, I'm just saying his reputation was he wasn't real smart. But he did it in front of the camera all the time. He'd be talking like this, and then somebody asked him a question, he'd go, I don't know how many times he'd go, I can't do it real well, but he'd go, his eyes would kind of go into the center. It's like, it didn't look very good. He looked not very smart, you know, when he did stuff like that. Where some presidents are very good at speaking, some are not as good. You know, Richard Nixon always looked like he was telling you a lie. His eyes would do this all the time, back and forth. He would always, and so somebody asked him a question, he'd go, and his eyes would always be going like that. They're going to find out, they're going to find out, they're going to find out if I'm lying. You know, and he always had that look about it. So everybody called him, you know, a crook. I don't know, he goes, I am not a crook. He'd say that, I am not a crook. Well, he was a crook. You know, he had that image, and he always looked like he was going to get found out when he was lying. Well, anything else on the agenda? We have to go on. Ladies and gentlemen, take out the worksheets. We'll get a look, try to get, what is civil service? How does it work to get the best workers? This is still review because I had it on board just like this. You can't remember at all? How many dads got, moms and dads have civil service jobs? Big around here. So what is civil service? Danny? Very good. Now tell me at this point in time, how do you pick the best person for the job? Yes, one is the interview. I had that written right here. And the more, I guess you'd say the more important one is the, yeah, they always have an exam. And so when you're taking a test, especially like for a post office, they're trying to see, are you able to read well enough? Are you observant enough to catch details? And so, you know, when you take a test for post office, you take this exam, you get in the top 3, then they give you an interview. And so the interview is like 20% supposedly who gets the job. So if we have a close score, I think I did this yesterday, you, and I said the one who got the job might not have had the best score, but they had a good interview according to the stories. Now the question is, did they really have a better interview, or does he just have an in and he gets in there because Uncle Henry's going to get him in? Uncle Henry. A lot of times just Uncle Henry. But it is one of those things we do see. Our country's got a lot of problems with privilege. You know, somebody getting you in, you're not playing with something you're not supposed to. Well, don't text your mom. If it's an emergency, you know, that should have been taken care of, unless you're dying or something. All right. So at that point in time, yeah, interviews. I have had one job where I had to interview for a government position. And when I walked in the room, I had a sense that they had already chosen who they were going to pick. It was just a matter of, there I had picked the guy. And so I figured it was somebody who had a connection. They got in right away. You just get that feeling once in a while. Thank you, Mr. Clark. We'll talk to you. We'll call you. Don't you call us? That kind of an answer, you know? Okay. So, but I kind of get that sense that sometimes they're in the interviews when they're doing much. All right, the being art, we talked about true or false, and that, of course, I believe is where we at here. Letter B, and of course, yeah, most of it is landscape painting, porcelain, true or false question. Like we asked Taylor, true or false? Landscape and porcelain painting, yes. Now, if I turn around and talk about something totally different, it'll be a false statement. So be careful on paying attention on that. That gets us down to the Chinese fleet. I saw a special on History Channel, which I do watch. Remember when Columbus went west? He had 3 small ships, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, and the Nina, and the ships were like 40 feet long, and that's what he sailed across the Atlantic Ocean in. And a lot of people thought, you know, they were pretty good-sized ships. And I did too. I thought, well, that must have been about the size of boats at that time. And I saw a special on the Chinese, and they were putting together sailing ships with 300 and 400 feet long. In Europe, they had nothing even close to that. They had no idea how to build something so big. But the Chinese were building these gigantic ships. And the guy they were talking about was the guy in the paper who was leading these great explorations with these gigantic sailing ships. And it's lucky for us, our researcher actually will pick the person here who will quickly tell us the name of the great explorer who is going to build these gigantic ships. Who is it? Robert is, of course, guy. Look at that boy flashing through the paper. And of course, interestingly enough, of course, there was a lot of discussion that the fact that Chinese actually got to America before, and if you think about it, or before Columbus, if you think about it, they're actually pretty close. A little northern route along the northern, or a little route along the northern area, they're in Alaska.
just come down the coast, they're here before us, like maybe thousands of years, but that was written down. Back to the original question, Robert, what was the name? Say again? Yeah, I'm gonna try, I have to look at my spelling, because these names don't come to me normal. I have to look at it. Zane, exploring, Z-E-N-G-E here. And so Zane, of course, 1405, is traveling all over the place. It shows you right there in that sheet. He's traveled to Africa, India, the Red Sea, and of course he's bringing all kinds of profits back because of the trade in silk. And so he's going to be bringing lots of money back in that situation, if you've done your reading. Trade is going well, the ships are going well, and then suddenly Zane dies. And when he dies, things change. And Devin, why is it that things change after Zane died? Why did the exploration stop? Oh, wait, let's touch this question here. We're talking, ladies and gentlemen, with the first man in America who went into outer space. Excuse me, sir, your name is? No, your name is? The first man in America who got into outer space? 1961? Yes, your name is? Why, it's Alan Shepard, ladies and gentlemen. A little round of applause for Alan Shepard. Just died last year. Alan Shepard, of course, was also the 7th man on the moon. Wonderful. Now, the first American to go into outer space and circle the Earth, of course, now was a senator of Ohio, and of course now he's well into his 90s. And ladies and gentlemen, this man is right here. Your name, sir, is? Say again? Buzz Aldrin. No, Buzz didn't do it. Yes?
Neil Armstrong?
Nope, John Neal didn't do it either. Yes, excuse me, the first American to circle the globe in outer space, his name, Senator from Ohio, bald-headed fellow. Okay, sure. John Glenn. And so John Glenn, circled. Now, of course, we'd like to have this first man to go into the moon. Yes, 1969.